we'll start on our backs, probably in a restorative bridge pose. So if you have your block around, it might be nice to use it now. There we go. All right, so you can start the music right away too, if you plan on using music this morning. Yeah, just beginning in like a comfortable reclined position. So if for some reason restorative bridge is not exactly working right now, you can always come to constructive rest with your pelvis kind of touching down. Good. Think about the back of your head and how it connects to the ground. And you might decide to rock your head side to side just a few times. Right, not with any like intention to find a deep stretch or anything like that, but just to get some information. Just about the state of things up in your shoulders and your neck. And giving yourself a chance just to kind of do the little things that make you feel really good and comfortable before you settle into some stillness. Thinking about maybe like, I don't know, a few minutes here at least. This restorative bridge. Nice. Yeah, so just allowing yourself to be here however you show up today. Without any kind of need for things to look a certain way or feel a certain way. Okay, at first, just kind of observing the landscape. Right, yourself within your physical body. Good, the way your breath moves. Okay, sort of getting a sense of your baseline at the beginning of your practice. All right, what your energy feels like today, maybe putting some words around that. Good, and I wanted to start with a poem. The Poet Dreams of the Mountain, a Mary Oliver poem. She writes, sometimes I grow weary of the days with all their fits and starts. I want to climb some old gray mountain slowly, taking the rest of my lifetime to do it, resting often, sleeping under the pines or above them on the unclothed rocks. I want to see how many stars are still in the sky that we have smothered for years now, a century at least. I want to look back at everything, forgiving it all, and peaceful, knowing the last thing there is to know. All that urgency, not what the earth is about. How silent the trees, their poetry being of themselves only. I want to take slow steps and think appropriate thoughts. In 10,000 years, maybe a piece of the mountain will fall. Good. So for those of you just arriving, we're going to begin in a restorative bridge pose or some kind of reclined position. Yeah. Good. And you can choose to treat yourself to a little bit of silence, or you might decide to take this time to just sort of like recalibrate this idea of thinking appropriate thoughts. When I think of what that might mean, it kind of speaks to the sense of aligning your thoughts with what you want your actions to be. Aligning your thoughts with your highest ideals, asking if they serve you and others. And maybe taking a little bit of time Coming back to what you kind of want to bring to this world, what you already do. Good. Just maybe a couple more minutes in restorative bridge. Good. About another 10 deep breaths. And you might decide to float your arms out past your head. And maybe again, you're rocking your head from side to side, potentially. Good. Feeling the full length of your spine. Good. Last breath or two here. Right, and we're gonna keep the pelvis up on the block if it feels comfortable. If your low back is needing the ground, you can always remove the block, but we're gonna send our feet up here. Good, and just kind of rotate those ankles around. Good, taking circles in both directions. And just remembering that, it doesn't have to be the biggest, most intense sensation or movement. Sometimes a little gentle rhythmic movement is really nice. Good. Maybe you want to shake your legs, kind of shake the muscle around the bone. Good. Or maybe stillness is where it's at this morning, and we'll just be here for another minute or so. Good. Another big breath here. Right. And we'll just set our feet back down on the floor, pick up the hips, and take the block out of the way. Good. And it might be nice just to kind of stretch out into a starfish shape, extending the legs and the arms long. Your body kind of looks like the letter X here. And pick up your shoulders, rearrange those shoulder blades, to set your upper back down. Good. Notice the way your thigh bones kind of turn in the hip socket, how things feel in the outer hip, and adjust your legs so that you feel pretty comfortable.
Good, and let's just stay here for maybe 10 to 20 breaths, depending on the speed of your breath. Breathing through your nose if you can, and think about kind of moving from the center of your body, okay, on out to the tips of your fingers and the soles of your feet on the inhale. And then move your attention back down your limbs, down into the trunk, down into your center on the exhale. Okay, just kind of expanding and then gathering your energy and your attention back up. Good. A few more breaths here in your starfish pose. Great. And then just begin to kind of draw your limbs in and curl yourself up into a little ball, kind of doing the opposite of what you were just doing. You might even pick up your head here, okay, and rock a little bit side to side on your middle back, if that feels good. If lifting the head and shoulders is not really working today for whatever reason, you can always set the head down and just focus on moving through the lower back. Good. Nice and slow. Notice your breathing. Good, and then we'll set the feet back down on the floor, and we'll let's do the left ankle over the right knee. It might be nice to pick up your hips and scoot them off to the left a little bit because we're going to take this bit of a twist. Okay, so the left foot touching down, the left knee sort of points up. You might take your right fingertips and kind of prop them on the inside of your left thigh for support. Good, and then take notice of the lower bits of your left rib cage. So closest to the center of your body, where your diaphragm attaches to your rib cage. And just give yourself a little scratch there, like you would a cat or a dog. Good, just getting in there. Okay, maybe you're placing a little bit of pressure, or maybe it's like no pressure at all. Just taking notice of how that part of your body feels. Good, and then extend that left arm out past your head. Just take a big stretch through the left side of your body. Your right hand might kind of sneak into your left hip crease and press it away. Good, so you're kind of just stretching out that space in between your left fingertips and your left hip. Keep the head relaxed. Good, and then slowly unwind yourself. Okay, we're gonna take the left elbow sort of behind the head, or the left hand behind the head with the elbow out wide. Unwind the knees. Okay, just spending a moment here and take your fingers into your left armpit area. Good, where your armpit and your biceps connect, where your armpit and the side of your chest connect, and just give yourself a little massage. Good. A few more breaths. Nice. All right. And then we're going to roll over onto our left side and grab a hold of your tennis ball, I'm thinking. And maybe your block. We did this the other day in Wendy's class, and it was so nice. So a couple of options. We're just going to place some pressure into our armpit. You might just use a block, lying down and just kind of resting your armpit on the block. You might just use the ball instead of the block, or you might use both. I kind of like to use both because it feels good to have a little bit of height in my body. So just kind of, yeah, I mean, it's not the world's most comfortable thing, but it's a really nice way to place a little bit of pressure into an area that really just needs more attention, right? Maybe if you have the ball on the block or the ball on the ground, you're rolling a little bit from side to side. Good, and let's settle in with movement or some stillness for maybe like a minute. Good. Notice what feels really good, what feels really weird. And choose to stay wherever you feel is best for you, right? Wonderful. A couple more breaths. Great. And then let's just remove the block, the ball, whatever you have there, and just return to your back. And as you do that, we're just going to find a simple constructive rest with the arms folded over the chest. Good. Your knees might drop in to meet each other at the center. Good, and notice the way that your upper back feels in the back of your neck, and just take a few more breaths. Good, so here, taking your right ankle, crossing it over the left knee. Let's scoot the hips off to the right just a little bit and take our twist. So the right foot comes down to the floor, and maybe your left fingertips kind of prop up your right thigh. Good, and then your right fingertips to your lower ribs. Just giving them a little scratch or a little massage. And so this poem, in the Mary Oliver poem, she's climbing this mountain, and that's what she wishes to do, right? She has this intention to go slowly, step by step, and thinking appropriate thoughts. Yeah, and that's kind of like the yogic principle of tapas, or self-discipline, right? We can't really climb the whole mountain. We're not focused. Good. Things can feel really rocky if we move too fast. And taking slow, deep breaths here. And then focusing in on maybe a little bit of the mental chatter, just to hear yourself out. Good. But then, yeah, taking a moment to replace the chatter with a mantra if you use one, or some kind of repetition of your intention. And just maybe saying a few kind words to yourself if that's where you want to go today. And another few breaths. Good, and then send that right arm nice and long here. Big stretch through the fingertips. That left hand might move into the left hip crease to provide a little bit of like pressure. Good, a little support for this big stretch. Watch your breathing. Good, and then very slowly just start to gather yourself back up. Good, coming onto your back in constructive rest. Let's sort of bend that right elbow. Maybe taking your right hand to your upper back, or your right hand could be on the back of your head too. Nice, finding space through your triceps. Good, and a little massage if you want to. Good, getting into the side of your chest, your underarm, up into your upper arm, wherever needs a little love. Good, a few more big inhales and exhales. All right, and then very slowly just start to roll on over to your right side. Good, and we'll come to sit up and just set up our little armpit massage station. Block, maybe your ball. Good. Yeah, we'll spend like a solid minute and a half or 2 minutes here, just kind of rolling around on the right underarm. Good, and as you do this, notice what's going on in your jaw. Good, and see if you can notice the speed and the depth of your breathing. Good, just another 5 breaths or so. Okay, maybe you're holding still here, maybe you're moving around a whole lot, it's up to you. Just being kind of gentle with yourself. Good, and then from here, let's remove the block and the ball, and we're just gonna come to sit up for a little bit, actually. So maybe a little sip of your tea. Good, but just taking your time here as you come to sit up to find a comfortable butterfly position. So the soles of your feet will be together in front of you. And maybe they're a good distance from your pelvis, or maybe they're really close. It might feel nice to kind of pick up this sitting bone and that sitting bone and just kind of rock them in there. And then we're gonna fold into this nice and easy going. And noticing the way your low back feels, your mid back. Good, how do things feel around your tailbone? In each hip socket.
And allowing yourself to kind of drop into this. Good. If you want to use props, you can always take a block or something and place it on your feet and rest your forearms or your head on it. Good. And another option here, we're going to stick around for a couple more minutes, is to cross your arms underneath your chest and grab opposite knees or maybe opposite shins and fold into this to release a little bit more of the tension that you might hold underneath your shoulder blades. Good. Another 5 to 7 breaths here. Good. All right, if you folded forward, go ahead and lift yourself up. And let's just kind of rearrange the legs for comfort because we're going to do a little work with our hands for a few minutes. Maybe you're sitting on your heels or finding a chair or easy seat. Good. And I'm thinking we're just going to spend some time with our fingers. So let's take that right thumb in your left hand and just kind of, twist a little bit here. Okay, twisting around one way, then the other way. Good, placing some pressure into that thumb. And then let's go down into the pad here, into the palm of your hand. And just give that a little squeeze. Good, and then we'll move our way into the index finger and just kind of squeeze around that. And maybe your fingers are cracking a lot like mine, maybe not. Oh. Good, and maybe spending just a little bit of time with that knuckle, okay? Okay, let's move on over to the middle finger and move that side to side, kind of twisting it around. Really gently though, of course. Good, and spending a little bit of time with that knuckle. All right, and then moving on over to the ring finger, twisting around. And just noticing how things feel as you move away from the thumb. Good, how do your fingers feel this morning? Good, and then down into that knuckle. Good, and then finally into your pinky. And just give that a little twist. Good, and then just grab a hold of that, that right wrist and kind of shake your hand out. Just like give it a good shake around. Like use your left hand to really drive the motion. Try not to use your right arm too much. Good. All right, now let's go ahead and just release that hand down, both hands actually to the lap. And let's spend a moment noticing the right hand. And spend a moment noticing the left hand. The whole right arm. The whole left arm. Good, both sides of the chest and upper back. Good, and then notice your heart in the center of things. Good, and then we'll take our time with the left hand. So let's grab a hold of that left thumb, give it a little twist. Good, making your way down into the pad. Good, down into the palm. Good, and then let's make our way up into the index finger, give that a little twist. How does this hand feel compared to the other hand? Good, take a little bit of time with the knuckle of your index finger. Good, and on over to your middle finger. Good, and into the knuckle. Okay, try to focus your breathing, focus your attention. Good, and now taking time with the left ring finger. Good, and down into the knuckle. Good, and finally your little finger, good twist here. Good, and down into that knuckle. Good, and then grab a hold of your left wrist and give your left wrist a shake. Use your right hand to really move that left wrist. All right, and then go ahead and just kind of let it go. Let's take the hands and interlace the fingers. We're gonna press those palms forward and just kind of round the upper back here, drop the chin towards the chest, and then we'll lift those arms up and overhead and just feel tall for a moment. Good, you might take a little gentle dip from side to side if that feels like a thing. Good, and then from here, let's come on out of it and find hands and knees. Good. I have my blanket spread out on my mats for extra padding. You might take your blanket under your knees. Good, and as you get to hands and knees, spread the fingers out nice and wide here, maybe wider than what feels initially comfortable. And just spending a moment like that. We're not going to stay forever in this big, intense sensation. Good, allow the hands to come to a more relaxed shape. And we're just going to roll ourselves through some cats and cows or any kind of spinal movement that feels right in your body. You notice the state of things in your shoulders, chest, and upper back. Good, notice what your head and neck are doing. And see if you can make them part of the movement, whatever you've chosen to do. Good, and then let's come into a neutral spine with your hands more or less under your shoulders and your knees just about under your hip sockets. Keep your spine long and let your belly drop. You're going to feel the spine move, and that's totally normal and fine. Just stretching our diaphragm a little bit in this way. Keep breathing, let your belly be soft. Good, and now let's engage the belly up and send that left leg back behind. Just lift it up nice and high for a moment. And you've got some options. You can hold it up like this morning. You can bend the knee and maybe take it around in a few circles. Or if you've got some energy to expend, you might decide to Like kick it back behind you and kick it off to the side, just back and forth. And so choosing what works, what feels right. Good. Few more breaths. Good, and then send that left leg nice and long behind you again. All right, and we're gonna take a little bit of time to set up in a pigeon type of shape. So either that left knee is gonna come forward with the right leg behind you, or you can take a figure 4 on your back with your left knee, left ankle over your right knee. And really let your knee be the determining factor here. If you come into a traditional pigeon and things feel even like a little bit iffy in the knee, find your back. Good, allowing yourself any kind of gentle movements you might like in this pose, maybe a little side to side rocking. Good, but then just settling in here for a few minutes. Good, allowing your breath to be maybe a little bit more focused. So this concept of slow steps begs the question, what's next, right? Okay, what's the next step to take? Where should I take it? And it reminds us that things are always changing and shifting. And so are we, I guess, in some ways. So just allowing the fullness of yourself to be here. Yourself in this present moment. Yourself as you were in the past. And also just holding open the possibility of yourself in the future. Good, and we'll take 10 more breaths here. Good, last couple breaths. Right, and then from here, if you're in your traditional pigeon, just rock over onto your left hip. We're gonna bring that right leg forward and extend the left leg out long. Just coming into like a Janu Shirshasana or half butterfly shape. Good. So thinking about that right leg being long, you might even have something underneath the knee though, like a blanket rolled up for support. And we're gonna fold over that left leg. You're gonna notice the way things are around your shoulders and in your upper back. Good. Noticing the weight of your head and the tilt of your pelvis. Good. Yeah, another handful of breaths. Good. And then slowly start to pick yourself up and out of that one. We're going to take the right hand behind, fingertips pointing away, and just take your left hand to the back of your head and point your elbow up. Good. You might lean back into it, or you might take like a stargazer pose like this, supporting your head with your left hand. Good. Just a couple more breaths. Okay, and then let's set ourselves back down, and the choice is yours. Like there are a bunch of different ways to get to pigeon on the other side. You could just get there with your right knee forward, or you might find hands and knees for some cats and cows. Or you might practice the downward facing dog and stretch out through the backs of both of your legs. Good. If you're in your down dog and you have a lot of energy to put somewhere constructive, you might shift forward into plank and back into down dog again. Good. Eventually making your way into your pigeon on the right side. Yeah, and as you get there, it might take you like a good minute to kind of wiggle your way into things. Maybe there's some rocking, maybe you just go right for the stillness. Good, you're breathing slow, maybe easygoing. Nice, noticing the way your right hip feels this morning. And how your shoulders and your upper back respond to that. Good. Notice what your jaw is doing.
Good. Another handful of breaths, like 7 or 8 of them. Good. Last breath here. All right, and then we'll start to make our way out of the pigeon. And coming to sit up. Swing that left leg around if it's behind you. And we're gonna send the right leg out long here and just kind of fold that left leg in to wherever it wants to be. And think about just kind of gently folding over that right leg. Your head could be heavy here. Your knee could be bent maybe with a little prop underneath it, or even your right forearm underneath the knee for some support. And just letting this be soft if you can. Let your breath do the work of releasing the tension that's hanging out in the back of your body. A few more deep breaths. All right, and then very slowly start to lift yourself up and out of that one. We'll take the left hand behind and the right hand to the back of the head with the right elbow pointing up. Good, maybe you're leaning back here or even lifting up those hips. Good, taking your stargazer, if your left wrist is feeling into it. Good, notice how things are feeling along the right side of your rib cage and the underarm. Good, another breath. All right, and then we'll set ourselves down into a seated position. Let's rub our faces for a little bit before we lay down. All right, so if you have oils nearby and you want to break them out, you're certainly welcome to do that. Today's the day I don't have any right next to me. Amazing. So we're just going to first start off with our heart and just kind of rake side to side here from the center of your chest and across the pecs, right underneath the collarbones. Just this gentle raking. Good, and then make your way up to the sides of the neck, and it's just kind of like a little gentle raking down the, maybe even like the back of your neck here. Good, using all your fingers.
Nice. And then let's bring the fingers up to the base of the skull and just give that area that's got some pressure points in it a little bit of love. You might even drop the chin down to massage there if that works for you. And take your pinkies and kind of graze the backs of your ears as you rub the base of the skull with your index and middle fingers. Good. And then let's come up to the jaw here. Fingers just kind of gently pressing in. Good. Your thumb is on the underside of the jaw, and we'll move the fingers and thumbs down to the chin and then back up again a few times. Good. See if you can relax your tongue. Perfect. And then let's go ahead and just grab a hold of your earlobes and draw them down. And you might gently pull one side, then the other side in kind of like a rhythmic way. Good. And then move up the sides of your ears here and kind of pull out to the sides. Same thing. You might like have that rhythmic side to side movement, or it might just be kind of static and stillness. Good. Moving up the ear, kind of pulling up into the sides. Good. And then the top of the ear pulling straight up. Good. And work your way back down the ear, back around. All the way to the bottom, pull straight down. Good, and then release that and just take your fingertips up into the center of your forehead, and we'll do the little bit of raking there as well. Good, maybe your ring finger is on your third eye and your index finger is up along your hairline. Good, sort of ending up in the temples, but maybe a little bit of like a flicking kind of movement, like a gentle sweeping. And a few more breaths like that. Good, and then let's take the fingertips up into the hair on the top of the head and give ourselves like a little top of the crown massage. Awesome. Little bit more. Right, and then I'm thinking it's maybe time to lay down. And I'm thinking of also like a little head wrapping action. So you might take your blanket kind of, I had mine unfolded so it was long and halfway, and then I folded it over again. So it's like a little bit long and wide. And as you come to lie down, you might set your head down on the edge of the blanket and then just kind of wrap your head up a little bit here just to keep you feeling somewhat contained. Good, your hands might be on your belly. If you have your block nearby and you want to move back into a restorative bridge pose, you're definitely welcome to do that. And maybe in that restorative bridge, you extend one or both of your legs out long. Yeah, there's always reclined bound angle and shavasana too. So just kind of choose your favorites. Good, allow your upper body to feel at ease. Okay, adjusting as you need to. Gathering yourself up for just a little period of reflection. And if you feel inclined to answer some questions for yourself this morning, it might be, what is my next small step? Maybe, what's the next appropriate thought?
without any judgment or shame, hopefully, surrounding those ideas. Yeah, but just speaking honestly from within yourself. What's the next small, slow step? What's the next appropriate thought?
And so just one more time, the poet dreams of the mountain. Sometimes I grow weary of the days with all their fits and starts. I want to climb some old gray mountains slowly, taking the rest of my lifetime to do it, resting often, sleeping under the pines or above them on the unclothed rocks. I want to see how many stars are still in the sky that we have smothered for years now, a century at least. I want to look back at everything, forgiving it all, and peaceful, knowing the last thing there is to know. All that urgency, not what the earth is about. How silent the trees, their poetry being of themselves only. I want to take slow steps and think appropriate thoughts. In 10,000 years, maybe a piece of the mountain will fall. And if you maybe slightly slower breaths here. And those little movements that you like to make that feel really good from where you are. Right, and eventually we'll all sit up. And as we come to a seated position, oh, hello. Let's just take our hands onto our heart and kind of stack them there. And it feels natural and good to kind of take them side to side or give yourself a little circular massage. You might do that. Just placing your own hands on yourself in this kind way. You might rock your head side to side. Good, or just drop your chin towards your chest as you massage the heart. Good, and then eventually let's take our hands and reach them up. And then we'll reach them out and kind of lean this way and kind of lean that way, oh, high. And then we'll kind of bring our hands back together at our heart. Good. Drop your head down, honoring your practice and honoring each other too. Yay. Happy Sunday, everybody. And happy last Zoom exclusive class. So if you're like wanting to come back in person, I will be there next week. Woo! I'm kind of nervous, but also like really excited.